You guys are having a wonderful day. Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I want to say hi to everybody, and I hope you guys are doing well. This is our first time kind of tuning in today, and this is interesting. This is an interesting conversation we're about to have. It has to do with this interesting meeting that occurred between Kanye West and President Trump and a guy named Nick Fuentes, who is I don't know much about Nick other than the fact that he's known as a Holocaust denier. That's pretty much all people have said about him. Now, maybe there's more. But anyway, guys, as you come in, do me a favor, shout out the city you're from. Put your hashtag B1 in the chat. Just know that this platform is for intelligent Black people. I'm here in Arizona, by the way, at the Women Doing It Big conference. The URL is womendoingitbig.com. So if you'd like to come out to the conference, just go to womendoingitbig.com. And without further ado, I'd like to ask my guest, Jamar Montgomery. How you doing today, Doc?
I'm blessed. I'm winning. I'm blessed and winning. Thank you for having me, Dr. Boyce.
Blessed and winning. That's a good answer, man. That's a good answer. So, Letitia, I see you from Fort Lauderdale. I see Baltimore in the house, Chicago, St. Petersburg, Florida, NYC. You know that our people are everywhere, right? Like all over the world. And some of them that are watching are international. We got Riverview. I don't know what Riverview is, George, but I'm sure it's a great place. We got Denver, Colorado for Raheem. And let's see, I see Colonial, Texas, B1. Good to see you. Put your B1 in the chat. Hit the thumbs up button. Everybody hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the notification bell. So let's get started here. So, Doc, you something interesting last week happened with Kanye West, and he had a meeting with President Trump. And now, give me a yes in the chat if you remember West having that meeting with Trump, and if you followed any of that. So what was crazy was I saw the meeting, and I said, "Oh, here goes Kanye doing something again." And I knew he was hooked up with Trump. It's very public. I remember when I was on the phone with Ye, Trump called while we were on the phone, and so I knew that they were connected. I just didn't know how. And then I saw a news report that there was another person at this meeting. You know, like there was a whole blow up with Trump and Kanye, and it kind of got crazy. And the Nick Fuentes guy was there. I don't know if he was denying the Holocaust or something. I have no idea. And then there was a story that said that there was another person there, and they said Jamar Montgomery. I said, wait a minute, I know Jamar Montgomery. What's going on? So let's start with the obvious, man. Why were you? How did you get there? How did that happen?
Man, Gay had reached out to me about helping out with his school with Donda Academy. And some parents had reached out to me. They knew my background in education. They knew, engineer, political science professor, lawyer, entrepreneur. They knew my background. They were like, "Hey, if we can get you in contact with him, can you write him, let him know we need some help." So I wrote him, and he called me the next day. Set up plans to go and meet on Monday, and met with him on Monday, gave him what I thought my concerns were about the school and how we can change the curriculum from what it is now to teaching our kids how to think like engineers and how to process things like engineers. So regardless if they're creative, if they're artists, if they're dancers, being able to teach them the engineering problem solving methodology so that when they face problems in life and in general, that they'll be able to work in a team and really come to a solution. The thing that I like to say is where there's an engineer, there's a way. So as you know, Ye has a big fascination with engineers. And so I was like, hey, this is how we do it. Well, after that, he was like, we talked a little bit more. I gave him a little bit more of my background. I was like, yeah, I ran for United States Senate. I was like, so my political experience and this kind of thing, like, so I get that. And he was like, well, I'm actually having a campaign meeting. You know what I mean? You should come through. Went to his campaign meeting, which was in the other part of his office. Gave him a little bit more about my background about running for U.S. Senate. Let him know, like, hey, I actually got more votes than you in Louisiana. And then later on, that turned into a Bible study afterwards. And he was like, yeah, I'm getting ready to go meet up with Trump and Mar-a-Lago. And he was like, he looked at me and he looked at Nick Fuentes. He was like, y'all want to go? Yeah, I want to go. Yeah, I want to go. So first I thought it was like, maybe he'll change his mind. And this was like at around like 10 o'clock that night. They sent me my ticket information and we were gone the next day. Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. So let me ask you this, man. I'm speaking with Jamar Montgomery, and Jamar was at the meeting between Trump and Ye, or AKA Kanye West. He also formerly known as Kanye West. And okay. So you, first of all, let's talk about you, your background. So you are also, I know, well, I don't want to, I'll let you name any companies you're affiliated with because I ain't trying to get a brother fired or nothing. But what is your background in terms of, you mentioned engineering. I did not know you were an engineer. I know you're a crypto expert and you know a lot about that. I know that you ran for office. Tell me about just more of your background that people may or may not know.
absolutely. So I actually became a lawyer after being an engineer. So I worked as an engineer for the Department of Defense and the Department of Navy for about 5 years. I was actually the youngest weapons systems engineer in the U.S. Navy's history. So I started there at 19 as a weapons systems engineer. Uh, I graduated from college at 19 years old, started college at 11. So worked there for about 5 years and then went to law school. Um, while I was in law school, did a lot of activism work, social activism work, and then also got involved in legislative drafting
Mm,
and doing policy research, particularly on militarized police and protest and also extremism. So after I graduated from law school, while I was in law school, I also went and got my MBA. So I was doing the dual degree program with a focus on finance. Helped bring cryptocurrency and blockchain to Southern University back in 2016. And after I graduated, I started teaching as a political science professor at Southern University Shreveport, and then um, started practicing law as an attorney. Um, so started practicing law as an attorney. I was a juvenile public defender in Caddo Parish in Shreveport, Louisiana, and also at the same time I was running for office. So I made a transition from once I had finished teaching, I launched my campaign later on that year of 2019 of
mm.
2019, and I was walking it like I taught it. And so I was telling my students that there is no reason why you should not be involved in your government and understand how your government works after taking my class. And in fact, I'm gonna show you that in order to be a real, true, full citizen, is that you have to engage in every single part of the electoral and political process. And the pinnacle of that is running for office.
Okay. So by the way, everybody, I want y'all to stop for a minute, and can we give a digital a round of applause for the fact that this brother just casually mentioned that he went to college at 11? How about that? How about that? How about we need more of that? You know, this is a platform for intelligent Black people, and so we love to see that. I mean, you know, because I could tell you if they said, oh, he was playing college basketball at 11, everybody would get excited about that, but not a lot of people get excited about a Black man who's actually taking college classes at 11. We should be just as excited about that as we are about sports, you know, because it's the brain that's really going to carry you through life. You know, sports does it has its purpose, but I think that being able to play the game of life at a high level is really impressive. And so I just want to make sure we just talk about that part. Okay, and so that's very impressive, man. It's really cool. Okay, so you were suddenly so you're in this meeting with Kanye West and Donald Trump, and you're at Mar-a-Lago. That had to feel just surreal, right? To suddenly be on a private plane flying to Mar-a-Lago with Ye and everything else. What was going through my? How did you feel? You know, just in that experience.
For me, it was like I knew I was supposed to be there. I knew I was supposed to be there, and it was more about people get mad but fail to get informed. And I'm the type of person that I'm gonna get informed before I get mad.
Mm,
So how else to really understand how people think by actually speaking with them and having the conversation and really seeing what their perspective is. So uh, a lot of times what happens with us is that we get so emotional about something that I'm not talking to this person. And that's how a lot of misunderstandings is how a lot of we as B1 people have to move intelligently and have to move wisely. And so if you understand how your counterparts think, that allows you to navigate in a very skillful and wise manner. So being there was like, whoa, when I came in there, I had my Lead with Logic hoodie on, right? From from Brother Fahim. I had that on. And if you look in the his first campaign announcement, you'll see me walking through with a backpack and this hoodie on. So walking through the airport and then finally getting to Mar-a-Lago, I hurried up and changed into, I was like, man, I'm getting ready to meet a former president. Now, Ye was in what he was wearing. Nick Fuentes was wearing a hoodie and everything, but I wanted to represent myself in a more professional, more, in a manner that represents a politician meeting another politician with politicians. Think whatever. Say what you want. Ye ran in 2020, so this man is a politician, and also so is Donald Trump. So, got dressed and everything in the bathroom real quick, and now I'm like, man, I'm really here. Like the same place where the FBI came and raided. I'm really here, and I was like, I came back into the main foyer, and like a couple minutes after I came into the main foyer, all of a sudden you see President Trump walk in, and he's got Secret Service and everything around him, and he goes and sees Jay, gives Jay a big hug, and he's like, oh yeah, well, he's like, oh, you brought some friends with you. He's like, yeah. He was like, if they want to come and eat, they can come. He's like, all right, cool. So we go now onto the patio, and now the people there, right, everybody around is like seeing Ye. They're like, oh, can I get a picture? And if you know anything about Mar-a-Lago, like the membership is very expensive. Like you just don't, like, you pay to have that kind of access and that kind of proximity to President Trump. So the people that were there were papered up. We get there and find out that, like, I guess Switzerland's wealthiest family was having dinner there. So, you know what I mean? So we're sitting out on the patio, and there's the table that's basically right in the center, and it's got, velvet ropes around. So it's me, Ye, and then President Trump. I'm literally sitting, 3 feet away from President Trump. And then Nick Fuentes is sitting next to me, and then Karen Giorno on the other side. So it was incredible. It was an incredible experience in the terms of, like, I'm really here. I'm really here, part of history, making history, and helping to determine the affairs of the nation and the world.
So what kind of food did they have? Was it good?
It was really good. It was really good. Like, everybody else had the Thanksgiving dinner. I got lamb chops.
Lamb chops. Okay.
I got lamb chops. I got the President Trump's special special lamb chops.
Okay, so let me ask you this. A lot of people, I know that people have different opinions about Trump, and I don't, just so everybody's watching, just so you know, I don't care who you voted for. If you're a Trump supporter or not, it doesn't matter as long as you're black first. But I've heard that Trump is actually quite charming, that he's a really friendly, amiable kind of guy. Until the moment hit. We'll talk about that in a second. But did you get that sense? Like, did you feel like, okay, this is a cool dude? Because a lot of people that hated Trump when he ran for president, they loved him 10 years earlier. There's pictures of him with all kinds of black celebrities and rappers and Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. All those people loved him until they got into the whole Democrat-Republican thing. Did you get a sense that he's like a likable guy, or did he come off as like a prick, or what was your feeling in that situation?
Trump is the most likable, charming person you'd ever meet until that switch turns off. When that switch turns off, when that switch turns off, it's a totally different person. It's a totally different person. He is not. I'm trying to say this in the best manner.
Well, It's okay. You ain't got to say. I think I know what you're talking about. I think yeah, because I'm gonna tell you my theory on it. I think that Trump and Kanye probably get along because they suffer from the same mental illness. I just say it like that. But my wife is a therapist, and she diagnoses, from a distance, right? She can't officially diagnose, but a lot of therapists, they listen to Ye, they see certain symptoms of bipolar disorder and things like that, and and I've heard groups of therapists like listen to Ye and sort of give their opinions back and forth. And then I think with Trump, I agree with you. I see a guy that can be very charming. He's not as much of a prick as people want to make him out to be. When they get, you get into the Democrat Republican thing, that means everybody who's a Republican is evil, right? And I don't believe any of that nonsense. But then it's like there's an arrogance. There's like a extreme. Both of them have extremely heavily inflated egos. Like both of these guys really feel like they are the most important human beings to ever walk the face of the earth. And having $1 billion only validates whatever bullshit you believe about yourself in the beginning. Same thing with Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX, I imagine, also had this sort of I cannot fail, I am perfect, I am amazing kind of mindset. Because think about it, you got billions of dollars in the bank, everybody's kissing your ass, everybody's telling you how great you are. You're gonna start smelling your own farts, so to speak. You're gonna start believing all the hype. That's my impression. Now, what did you get that impression just in terms of dealing with Trump and then also dealing with Ye and everything else? What did you feel when you were sort of in that space?
I feel like when there's a lot of opposition against you, that level of self-belief that you have to have becomes damn near delusional, right? And crazy, people, they would call you crazy, right? They would call you crazy. But when you go and accomplish things that people feel are impossible, there's going to be a certain level of confidence, of unshakable confidence or arrogance that's going to come with that. And particularly being Black men in America, there's a certain level of arrogance that we have to have in order to really, in order so that people don't play on our top, as you say, right? As you say. So, with Trump is one thing, but with Kanye, I feel like with everything that our brother has gone through and has experienced, right? From people doubting him, from people wanting to pigeonhole him into one lane, that the difference between Jay and Trump is that Kanye's worked for his entitlement, right? Or if there's no there, I don't see a sense of entitlement because of the hard work that Ye has put in. Whereas with Donald Trump, his arrogance,
to help us, not for free. We could afford to pay them, but they wasn't being.
Oh, what was that?
Oh wait,
straight up.
Hold on.
And of course,
all
we
of
know
a
that's
sudden
not
my
all of our contractors. We want to be clear.
all of a sudden my
Twitter.
Is
that
video,
Umar? Is that Umar Johnson?
Umar. That was the interview.
Yeah, he did a good interview on the Breakfast Club. Umar's hated my guts for about a decade, but I don't hate his, and I'm gonna tell you, he did a hell of a job on the Breakfast Club, and I want to shout him out for the way he represented. But I get it. Okay, so let me go ahead and challenge that a little bit. Not challenge, but let me give you a perspective on it. I'm not even saying you're wrong. Use the word arrogance. Now, if you look up the definition of the word arrogance, it would say, I looked it up, and it says exaggerating or disposed to exaggerate one's own worth or importance, often by an overbearing manner, or showing an offensive attitude of superiority, proceeding from or characterized by arrogance. And so I get what you're saying, right? As a Black man, we get beat down, chopped up. If you're a visionary, you're gonna have people chop up your vision. Dumbass people that can't see, blind. You have blind ass people trying to criticize your vision, and they ain't never had a vision in their life.
Yep.
Or also with yourself, you are a bona fide genius. You went to college at 11, so you probably have ideas that end up going over a lot of people's heads, which is why you can't always express every idea to everybody. You just got to show them, and then they believe what they can see, right? Exactly. And so what I've always felt is that arrogance. If you talk about arrogance in the formal definition of exaggerating and also having a sense of superiority over others, I don't know if that's necessary, and I don't know if that's necessarily always beneficial. Because I believe that maybe confidence, just extreme confidence, right, can be beneficial, because then I can be confident without exaggerating. Like I can be the shit because I know I'm the shit, right? Yeah. I'm not going to have to tell you I'm the shit or convince you I'm the shit. I just show you through my activities, right? And then also the superiority piece. Why do I have to be superior to you? Me convincing you that I'm superior to you does not make me a great man.
Yeah.
It just means I've convinced you that I'm superior to you, which is going to make you feel worse. You're alienated from me, right? We can't be teammates now because I got to put myself as the alpha and you got to be the beta. I think that the confidence could be translated into saying, let's all be great together. Like, yeah, I know I'm great. I'm extraordinary. Yeah, I know I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. I know what I've accomplished. But man, you a bad boy too. And if I'm a badass and you a badass and we're teammates, then we can beat down anybody that comes along and tries to compete with that. You know what I mean? And I think that's the part where I think hip hop sometimes leads us astray as a community, because if you listen to a lot of the music and dissect it, it's like this man bragging to the audience about how he's better than you. I got more money than you. My jet, I got a jet. You can't even buy a plane ticket. I'm wealthy. You still in the hood. Like, don't nobody hear that crap. I reject all of that, man. So I think that the arrogance piece is the part where I'm just kind of like, come on, man. Like when I was talking to Ye, we got along. We got along for about maybe 70% of the conversation. 30% is I'm like, yeah. I know that I know you were worth $1 billion. Yeah. I know you're an important man. Yeah. I know. It doesn't work on me because I'm smart enough I can see behind the curtain of the Wizard of Oz. Like, I see what's real and what's not. And I'm not a 17-year-old kid looking up to you like daddy. I'm a grown-ass man. Like, okay, yeah, you're great. You're special. You're extraordinary. Now, what are we going to do for the community so that our whole community can be extraordinary? So go ahead, man. Go ahead. By the way, I'm talking to Jamar Montgomery. I want to make sure I give him his credit and mention his name. And Doc, if you don't mind, man, I'd like to put your social media up here so people can see it. And then I'm gonna let you go ahead and do the talking. So I want to know. There we go. I'll put that up there. And then also, if you want to mention your Instagram handle. But so let me ask you this, man. So you're sitting at this dinner with Trump and Ye and Nick Fuentes. And actually, before we get to the big part where Trump kind of just goes ballistic, at least it was the way I read it. Tell me about Nick Fuentes. So you're sitting with a Holocaust denier, supposedly super racist, like I hate black people and I want to kill them all. That's the way the media kind of shapes things up. Was that your experience with him? What was it like sitting with him, talking to him, etc.?
People and ideology. And I wanna go back to what we were saying about arrogance. I don't think that the proper word for Ye is arrogance. I'm gonna say that his confidence can be seen as offensive to others, right? Mm-hmm. And I say that in terms of if he would have felt that way towards me, I wouldn't have been there. You know what I mean? So it was recognizing as black men, like, hey, I need you here. I need your expertise here. I need your perspective here. Your perspective is important. You have something that I don't have, and I respect your expertise. So now that Nick Fuentes, I didn't really know who Nick Fuentes was until after I basically got off the plane. Like, I had talked with him, but I knew that for all I knew, it was like, okay, almost ultra conservative. I figured he might be a little alt-right, but those folks don't scare me. You can't beat me intellectually. Damn sure can't beat me physically, right? So, you know what I mean? Like, when me and him were having debates earlier during the campaign meeting, when I spoke, he was quiet. So, for me, it's like people get so up in arms. Oh, he's a white nationalist. Oh, he's a white supremacist. Oh, this, that, and the third. And I say to them, like, well, your current president, Joe Biden, is the reason, and the Congressional Black Caucus and the 1984 legislative body is the reason why millions of black men are locked up in our prisons, why they're locked out of student loans, why they're locked out of getting public housing, why they're locked out of plenty of economic opportunities. So when you start talking about white nationalists and white supremacists and people who are oppressing them, you can point to people like Nick Fuentes, but look at the people who are already in power who don't overtly let you know how they feel about you, but in their actions make it very clear about how they feel about you. So Nick Fuentes, I mean, he's young. He's young. Once again, well-spoken individual. His ideologies I get it. I get it. For people whose death rate is exceeding their birth rate, there's going to be a level of fear that you're going to have of being replaced, right? I get that. I get that. The numbers say that. The numbers say that. Now the challenge is that how is it that even with your folks and people with your ideology being in power, that you're still in a position where others can take over? That says a whole lot. So why would I be worried about you? Why would I be worried about you? Um, when I was in Shreveport, Louisiana, we had armed standoffs with people who believed what he believed. So we can be about that life intellectually, or we could be about that life, you know, physically. But Nick Fuentes, like, small potatoes.
But you know what? I tell you, it's kind of like that's the thing. I want to ask everybody this question. Um, how many of you? Let's talk about the Proud Boys, for example. Proud Boys, more notorious white supremacy, whatever they're labeled. I don't know. How many of you wake up in the morning and you're just afraid of like a Proud Boy showing up and killing you on the street? Like, how many of you walk in fear? Give me a yes or no in the chat. How many of you are just living in constant fear of the Proud Boys or Trump supporters coming to get you or whatever? Like, give me a yes or no in the chat. I want to ask that question for a reason. I asked that question because I live in Chicago, and in Chicago now there's been a whole lot of murders in Chicago. Way too many murders. People the innocent people getting killed out of nowhere, like walking down the street. It's gotten crazy. I ain't heard about one single one of them murders happening from a Trump supporting alt-right Proud Boy. I'm not saying that they're good people. I'm not saying that they're wonderful individuals, but maybe it's because I'm from the South. I would pretty much kind of sort of Kentucky, which is when I go to New York they consider that to be the South, but in the South they consider it to be the North.
Midwest.
Right, Midwest, right. And I knew some old hillbilly. I'm talking about, don't wear no shoes, straight out the forest country folks. And I just haven't really had any bad interactions. I knew a lot of them. I taught at the University of Kentucky, and a lot of those kids were from towns that had zero black people in them. And I'm not sitting there saying that they're wonderful people. I'm just saying that this distraction. I feel like it's a distraction. It keeps us from really looking and saying, well, where are our real threats? What are the things that are really hurting us? Like during the pandemic, everybody was thinking that everybody was going to die from the virus, and the virus certainly was a threat. Don't get me wrong, but go look at the diabetes and statistics. Go look at the number of black people that are dying from just that shit you eating at your local fast food restaurant. I bet more people have died from Popeye's chicken than from COVID any day of the week. I mean, really, look at how many fat, sloppy, super obese people, like an inch away from death, are lining up for the fried chicken at these fast food joints and gonna be dead in a few years. But yet we somehow are only focused on this one little narrow thing that the politicians told us to focus on. So what I've always felt is that we have to have our own dialogue. We cannot continuously let other people tell us what should be important to us. We should do that ourselves. So let me ask you this question, man. So by the way, I'm speaking with Jamar Montgomery. Jamar is he's a crypto expert and a brilliant guy. He's an attorney. He's ran for office. He's a good dude. I respect him. And he was at the meeting between Kanye West and Trump and Nick Fuentes. And so I just said that Jamar reached out. We were talking about it, and I was really happy to have him on the podcast so we can really kind of like just talk about what that was like. If everybody could do this for me real quick, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share, subscribe. If you have not done that yet, make sure you hit the notification bell. That's really important. Also, this podcast is on Spotify and Apple. If you look up the Dr. Boyce Breakdown, you can find it there. And the last but not least, last thing I want to remind everybody is that tonight at 8 o'clock, the Black Business School, this is our institution. We built this. We own this. We run this. We're educating millions of Black people around the world. We are having a free event on Friday on how to get into multifamily real estate. It's hosted by Julian Gordon, who's a brilliant guy who is really great with multifamily real estate. You're going to love it. So if you'd like to sign up, just go to my website, boycewatkins.com. The URL's on the screen if you'd like to join us tonight. So let me ask you this, Doc. So you are at the so we talked about Nick Fuentes, and I was really curious about that. The reason I asked that question is because I feel like he's the guy that has an ideology. He's 24 years old. He probably is going to evolve over time. You know, sometimes when you're young, you get arrogant. You think you know everything. It's like, yeah, whatever. Okay, yeah, keep talking. But then you're at Mar-a-Lago and you're sitting with Kanye on one side, Ye on one side of you, and then Trump's on the other side of him. And the meeting's going great. Everybody's having a good conversation, and then something changes. What happened?
Trump all of a sudden gets a phone call. Trump all of a sudden gets a phone call, and then he's like this, he's talking, and he's on the phone for maybe like 4 or 5 minutes. Now, mind you, we had been there already probably like 30 minutes. Conversation's going good. He gets the phone call, and he's on the phone for a couple minutes. Gets off the phone call, then the tone changes. He goes and starts talking about the black people that he's helped, that he would never help again. That what did he say? He was talking about what was it? ASAP Rocky. He talked about one of the ball boys from one of LeVar Ball's boys that got locked up in China or got hemmed up in China. He talked about somebody else that he'd helped, and he was like, I wish I would have never effing did it. I wouldn't effing.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow. He said he cussed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you, man. I'm glad he did it, but I think that if he'd had better advisors, they would have told him, like, use your political capital somewhere else. That's what I would have told him. I don't think it's funny. It's like, I don't even like Trump, right? But when he did that, when he was doing these things, like letting black celebrities out of jail, out of bullshit that they had created for themselves, whether it was ASAP Rocky or LeVar Ball or Son and all that, I think he underestimated just how committed black people are to the Democratic Party. I think that they see some black folks kind of popping over the fence, which is their right to do that, right? But I don't think they understand, like they will take your support and still hate your guts after it's over with. Like there's no, like, even even Brittany Griner is a person that really, if I was a Trump, if I was Trump, let's say I was in the White House and a Brittany Griner was locked up in Russia because of something she did, right? I'd be like, I'm going to bring the Marine home and leave you over there, because it's not going to benefit me politically to bring you home anyway. People are still going to think I'm a piece of shit, even if I do this. And I'm not saying I would, like, personally, me, I would try to bring both of them home. I couldn't just pick one. Like I just think celebrities get too much attention. I think there's so many people in jail in the U.S. right now that they are ignored. We worship celebrities. Two things about black people: we worship celebrities, we worship Democrats. A lot of us do. So this idea that Trump was going to win black people over by bringing home ASAP Rocky and getting the ball boys out of jail, I think that was an illusion. I don't know what advisor told him that was going to work. I would have said, dude, if you're trying to just be a straight Republican, I'd go do something else. They'll take your help and then still talk shit about you after it's over with. That's just my belief.
Well, what you're saying is that Trump was operating as if black people were intelligent. And what I mean by that is he's saying that if these are the people that you like, I'm helping the people that you like. You should be with me because I'm going to do things for you. If I do this for these people, what will I do for you? And he said that early in his campaign speech about, what do you have to lose?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to lose? Mind you, remember, Donald Trump was willing to meet with Ice Cube, with the Plan for Black America that was informed by Dr. Claude Anderson, right?
Yep.
He was willing to do that. The Biden administration was not. So guess who was willing to at least deal with us and have the conversation and deal with us as somewhat equals and deal with us in an intelligent manner, right? So as long as black people allow the media to tell us who we should be mad at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who we should support, or the Democratic Party, right? who we should support and who we should like, they're looking at you like you're a child, like as if you don't know what your own interests are. So you mean to tell me that now here it is the person that is responsible for mass incarceration, President Joe Biden, who has been in high government office for 40 some odd years, could not find some way of utilizing his power and his influence to rectify his wrongs of having millions of black men, and not just black men, millions of black families. Because when you take men out the home, you mess up the family. You mess up the futures, because now this child does not have a role model, to look up to. He does not have the protector. Regardless of what you want to say, of what people want to say about black men, there's a reason why black men are important. We're protectors, we are providers, we are role models to our children. We are involved in our children's lives. That is what he did. That is what he did. That's how he affected the family. And for us to go and give President Joe Biden our vote as a result of that is just mind-boggling. So no, when other groups look at us, they don't look at us as intelligent people who understand what their interests are. They look at us as consumers who just needed to be marketed to, because otherwise we're going to be. What sense does it make for us to be mad at to be mad at Ye, right? What sense does it make to be mad at Ye and allow someone outside of our community to tear him down? Because if they'll do it to the richest and the greatest of us, what is happening to your black ass?
Well, you know what? Well, I'll tell you what, man. It's when it comes to the politics and everything else, it is mind-boggling. And the reason I was saying, that I definitely would feel that Trump, I think the reason Trump was misguided about black people was because he's always had a lot of black friends. Before politics came into the picture, black people looked up to him. Rappers rapped about him. He would go to parties and they liked him because he was the cool billionaire. And I think that for him to become a Republican and suddenly for people to say, oh, you're a racist because you're a Republican, because he'd been a Democrat. If he ran as a Democrat, a lot of that stuff would have been swept on the rug. The Democrats would have overlooked almost all of that. And that's the part that I think only intelligent, thoughtful people can really see that. If you're kind of a sheep and you're going along with what people tell you, then you're going to fall for this idea that the Democrats are our friends and the Republicans are racist, and that's just not true. And you're correct. When I was working with Ice Cube on the contract of Black America, getting that in front of the politicians, I remember him calling a couple times and talking about how difficult it was to get the Democrats to even show basic respect for what he was trying to do. He said that the Biden promised to meet after the election. He wasn't a sucker. I'm not a sucker. I said, well, you know what that means, right? They're just delaying you, right? He said, yeah, I know that, because he's a strategic person. He gets that. And so for them to even say that was really almost very insulting. It's like, don't you know that we know that what you're doing, like you're just delaying. You're saying like, okay, once I get everything I want from you, it's like a man saying, yeah, girl, I'm gonna be nice to you after you give me the ass. If you can't be nice to her before you get what you want, you really think he's gonna be nicer to you after he gets what he wants? No, he's not. So basically, it was shocking to me. And actually, I remember high-ranking Democrats reached out and said, thank you for putting pressure on the Democratic Party, because they suppress anything that we try to do for the black community. This was a high-ranking official. I'm not going to say the person's name. I don't want to blow their cover. But they were really in that party, really trying to do the right thing. And they said, the pressure you're putting on them is calling them out for their racism, because when we come to them and say, you got to do right by black people, their response is basically that black people are going to be stupidly loyal no matter what, and that they don't really have to do anything. They don't have to earn our vote like they have to earn votes from other groups. So they're going to use their political capital in those various ways. So let me ask you this. So how did that feel, when you're sitting there, you're chilling with Trump and Ye and everything, and you're having this wonderful conversation, everybody's cool and eating lamb chops and shit. And then suddenly Trump just starts, getting pissed off, and his face probably turned orange. And he's, and he's mad, and he was talking about Kanye's ex-wife, right, Kim? Like
it was a build up. It was a buildup. So he went to talking about the people that he had helped. He went to talking about the people that he helped, and that he wished he wouldn't have effing did it. Then he went to talk about the Democratic Party, and then he called Kim. I'm eating my lamb chops and everything, like just listening to him, like, and he goes to see, he's like, oh yeah, and she's effing disgusting. No, he can't be talking about Kim, and Kanye's right here. Nah. Then he said Kim is disgusting to me. Just
wow. What did Ye do? Did Ye even react? Did he agree? Did he say like no?
Ye looked. I think Ye was shocked too.
Really?
Ye was shocked too. Ye was shocked too. You know what I mean? Like, everybody at the table was shocked, and it was like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I could only imagine how things would have went if Secret Service wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like,
man, oh yeah, it's not like he could get up and punch him because the Secret Service will kill him.
You know what I mean? So I'm sitting there, like I said, everybody else has got their Thanksgiving dinner. I'm eating my lamb chops, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm like, no, I didn't hear what I just heard. And then when he said it, I was like, oh, I did hear that. I did.
So okay, so then like how long did it take before it's like, okay, this dinner's over, I'm out? Like how do you finish such an awkward conversation? Like how does that end? Like,
well, it started talking about campaigning, and then it was like, that's when Ye was like, yo, I actually want to talk to you about that. He's like, how would you like to be my running mate? And Trump was like, oh, you as my vice president? And Ye was like, no, you as my vice president. I'm like, whoa. We talked about this in the car, but he actually did it. He actually asked this man. I said, at Mar-a-Lago. I said, oh, Kaz, yay. I'm just thinking in my head, like, man, all right. Since we all talking trash at the table, they were like, I was like, oh, by the way, President Trump, I also ran for United States Senate in Louisiana. He was like, oh, really? He's like, Democrat, Republican. And I was like, I ran no party. And Ye was like, oh, well, he does have leftist views. I looked at him. I said, all right, cuz I got you. He's like, oh, well, how'd you do? I said, well, I got more votes than Kanye.
Ooh, wow. That's so funny. That's hilarious. So, okay. So Trump, was that when Trump goes into the whole thing where he's telling Kanye you can't win?
Yes. Yes.
Really? Okay. So
yes.
How did that go?
I felt like because Trump did like this, he started getting adamant. He was like, you can't win. I have a base of 125 million voters. Like, you can't win. You can't win. And he looks at Nick. He's like, Nick, you're a smart guy. You got to tell him the truth that he can't win. Then he looks at Karen. He's like, you're going to make a bunch of money off consulting fees, but you got to tell him that you can't win. And I was just sitting there like, well, he didn't say nothing to me. Well, I guess he must know whose side I'm on. Right? Because Nick Fuentes voted for Trump in 2016 and also campaigned with Stop the Steal in the 2020 elections. So he was you know what I'm saying? He was a big Trump supporter all the way, right? And then Karen Giorno was Trump's Florida state director during the 2016 campaign. Oh, and wow. I'm sitting over there looking at like, I voted. I'm the only one at this table, and besides Ye, I'm the only person at this table that voted for Ye in the 2020 elections.
Wow. That's so interesting, man. Like, okay, so before I let you go, man, so let me ask you this last part then. And by the way, everybody, I'm talking to Jamar Montgomery, and we're talking about his very interesting and somewhat awkward meeting with Ye, aka Kanye West, Nick Fuentes, and Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And Jamar was there, and
the mysterious fourth man.
The mysterious fourth man. There we go. The mysterious fourth man. And we're just kind of doing a blow by blow on that. And also, I want to remind everybody that tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, Julian Gordon is doing a free event in the Black Business School on how to get started with multifamily real estate. If you want to own multifamily real estate, you can go to boycewatkins.com and sign up. And also, we have the first ever Black Financial Therapy Department in the Black Business School, where we're working with the best therapists and the best financial experts to understand the psychological barriers that keep us from building Black wealth and family wealth. So you can go to boycewatkins.com to learn more about that. And don't worry about the people that are walking behind me. They were nervous. They were like, okay, am I gonna mess up the podcast if I don't? Y'all family. So they ain't even nothing but a thing. All right. So do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. So Doc, let me ask you this. So how did the meeting conclude? Like, I assume when you got there, everybody's hugging and shaking hands and all that. Did that happen at the end, or was it more like bye or what?
It was like, oh, well, what time you guys leaving? He was like, oh, we have a flight at like 10 o'clock. He was like, looked at the time. He's like, oh man, well, y'all gotta go. Y'all gotta go. I wanted to get a picture, but I felt like the tone of it was like he wasn't really rocking with us. He was being polite. The disrespect had already occurred, and so now he was just being polite. But it definitely was a little bit of some tension that was there.
Wow.
But yeah.
So what's it been like with the just media conversations? I mean, the attention on the meeting, like when the meeting left, the meeting ended, did you think that it was going to be a national story in that way, or how did you feel when you were leaving? In terms of what people would know.
I didn't think it was going to be a national story because I didn't think that it was going to necessarily get leaked. And then I don't remember if it got leaked, and then Trump made a bunch of tweets about it or a Truth Social post about it. But I didn't expect for it to be a national story. But when it became a national story, I was sitting there like, okay, well, they're talking about Nick Fuentes, they talking about Karen Jorno. All right, I'm cool. I'm going back to doing what I was doing. You know what I mean? Like, cool. Then, what was it? Last Tuesday. Last Tuesday. He's on a podcast and he's like, oh, he's like, the other person that was with us, Jamar Montgomery. He's an engineer, and he stated where I was working at. And I'm like, dog, you ain't provide no other context. You ain't said U.S. Senate candidate. You ain't said lawyer. You ain't said educator. You ain't said none of that. And then all of a sudden, I get emails, and then folks trying to track me down.
Okay. So, that's wow. That just sounds like it's interesting to hear about that type of stuff, but it's almost sad in a way. Because I kind of honestly will have to say I think Ye and Trump are brilliant. They're more brilliant than people give them credit for.
Yep.
But they also I've always seen some mental health issues with both of those guys. I've known about Ye for 20 years. I've known about Trump for about 30, and I remember years ago just noticing Trump's the arrogance, which is a little bit of entitlement. Rich white boy entitlement. And I remember being offended by it. I literally remember being offended by it probably before you were born. What year were you born?
89.
Okay, so maybe when you were 2. I remember about 91. I remember reading an article that about something Trump said about young Black males, literally back in 1991. And it's funny,
the Central Park. Was it the Central Park 5? What was it?
No, that wasn't it. That was at that time. I don't remember seeing anything that he said about the Central Park 5 at that time. Years later, people go back and they grab stuff and it gets recontextualized or whatever. But now he definitely did have some issue with that. And he is more of a conservative-ish kind of figure. There's no question about it. But what I got offended by was I remember he said something like, I wish I was a young Black male in America today because young Black men have so many opportunities because of things like affirmative action and all that. And I remember saying, well, I'm a young Black male and I don't see no opportunities nowhere. I wrote him a letter. I literally this is how long ago it was. It wasn't like I could send him emails and none of that, man. I literally wrote him a letter and sent it to his office, looked his address up and all that. Never got a response. But those are some of my earliest memories of Trump. But just time to tell you how things go full circle. That summer, Ice Cube's movie Boys in the Hood came out. right? So it's crazy for me years later to have Trump and Cube as these political figures. When I remember them just as celebrities, they were completely disconnected. Cube is over here starting to make movies. Everybody's interested in that because he was just known as a gangster rapper to that point. And then Trump was just buying office buildings and known as the rich guy. And it wasn't like there was this huge amount of animosity toward him from the black community. Everybody kind of loved him. He was kind of like you know what he was? He was kind of, back then, in my view, Trump was like what Elon Musk was about 4 years ago, before Elon got overly political. When Elon got political, he became more of a divisive kind of figure in certain ways. A lot of people are mad that he owns Twitter. But 3-4 years ago, Elon was just the guy who was going to take people to Mars, the visionary. Now he's so much more than that. It's much more complex than that, right? So I kind of just think it's interesting to watch, but I don't really think either one of those guys is necessarily right to lead the country. But then again, Joe Biden is so damn old, and this man that did so much dirt. This man has done so much harm to the black community that sometimes black awareness leads to outrage. You just get angry because of what you know too much.
To be relatively conscious in black in America is to be in a constant state of rage.
Exactly. Yep. Was it Baldwin who said that?
Baldwin.
Yeah, and that's 100% correct, man. It's like I cannot on this planet or any other support a man who went out of his way to exterminate black people. He was our version of Adolf Hitler. And people don't see that. Some people can't. They're like, oh, let's forgive and forget. And I'm like, that's why you Negroes are stuck in the position you're in, because you always forgiving people that come in and try to slaughter your children. Stop being suckers. Grow the hell up. Go ahead, man. I'll let you get.
I'm always going to lead with love with my brother Ye. I'm always going to lead with love. And what I'm going to say is we do not talk about the mental health effects of when people play games with us about seeing our children. When people play games about black men seeing and being involved in their children's life, it does something to us, because we're treated as if we do not love our children just as much as the mothers. And then particularly when you are a black man in the family court system, you are treated like you're a deadbeat. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how rich you are. Chris Rock talks about it in his comedy. How the judge was talking to him like, we need pictures of the food in your refrigerator. And he's like, what have you heard about me? Right? We don't talk about my own personal experience of being dragged through the family court system, right? We see black men time and time again, and when they are separated from their children, when people play games about seeing their children, about having input in their children's lives, what it does to us psychologically, we do not talk about that. We do not talk about that. We discount it. And so when we talk about mental health effects, right? If you're thinking about your kids and you love your kids, right? How are you going to be the best performer at work? How are you going to be the best? How are you going to be the best for people in your household? How are you going to be able to do that? You're not in a good space. So I don't want us to discount our brother and forget that he's human. But he's human too, and he's having a human experience. Divorce is hard on people psychologically, or on men. Not being able to see your children whenever you want to see them is hard on you, right? So really taking that into account. And then the last point I want to make is, like, we got King Leopold II, right, of Belgium, who was given complete control over Congo Free State, and anywhere from 10 to 20 million Congolese, black Africans, were killed underneath his rule in the late 1800s. We do not talk about that, and how Germany, France, Italy, Denmark, United States, and it was a total of either 14 or 16 other countries who were involved in making that decision. What Africans have experienced and what Africans in America have experienced. Particularly, we have monuments. We have monuments to to people who were slave owners, but we call them presidents. In other countries, it is illegal to show to have the swastika or to have any Nazi symbols, but here in America, you're allowed to have Nazi symbols. Like, if we're going to talk about evil, and we're going to talk about doing stuff and being fair and what's wrong and what's right, then we need to be talking about it all across the board. But I will never allow somebody to tear down another black man publicly, particularly with all of the evils that has been done to blacks here in America, and Africans here in America, and Africans on the continent, and Africans all across the diaspora.
That's true. And for the record, everybody, King Leopold killed 10 million.
Conservative estimates.
Yeah, that's a conservative estimate. So he did probably twice as much damage as Adolf Hitler. So we got to make sure if you're going to talk about Hitler, you got to talk about him. And I think that's an excellent point that you make. And I want everybody to give a digital thank you to Jamar Montgomery.
Last point. The average life, I found this out at the National Museum for African American History and Culture, right? So out of the 3 million or so Africans that were brought from Africa to the diaspora, when they got to the shores, the average life expectancy was 7 years, regardless of what age that you got there. So if you were 3 years old, you're only expected to live till 10. If you were 30 years old, you're only expected to live to 37. So now we'll talk about the Holocaust that Africans living in America have experienced and continue to experience through genocidal practices in our food, genocidal practices in our healthcare, genocidal practices in our judiciary system, genocidal practices in our educational system. So before we start getting mad and taking up other people's issues, we need to focus on the issues and the experience and genocides that we are currently and continue to experience.
Right on. Well, that's an excellent set of points you made, man. It was great talking to you. I appreciate you sharing your story. That was really entertaining to hear it. If everybody could give a digital round of applause to Jamar Montgomery. Where can people follow you, Doc, on social media?
Dr. Jamar Montgomery on IG. DRJAMAR Montgomery.
I'm gonna put that on the screen. Like that?
Yep,
right?
That's that.
Okay, cool. All right, so everybody follow. Give me a yes in the chat if you're gonna go follow Doc on Instagram, on social media. He is a brilliant guy. Going to college at 11 is pretty cool. That at least means he has ideas worth listening to, which I agree 100%. And I want to say thank you to everybody who hung out with us. If you'd like to join us for tonight, I'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. Julian Gordon is doing a free event in the Black Business School. That is our institution. We own this. We run this. We've actually had as much impact as a lot of HBCUs for a fraction of the cost. And so because we believe Black people should own our own schools. And if you'd like to join us, our special event tonight is on multifamily real estate. It's totally free. You can join us. Julian Gordon, our Dean of Real Estate, is going to talk to you about how to get invested in multifamily real estate so that you can become an owner, so you can generate cash flow, you can leave a legacy of wealth. We're in the building. We're getting it done. We're making it happen. Join us tonight. Go to boycewatkins.com. The URL's on the screen. There's a link right there where you can register and join us tonight at 8 p.m. All right, everybody. Well, have a good night. God bless you. And thanks again, Doc. It was great to see you, man. And
thank you, Dr. Boyce.
You just hang on until when I end the podcast, so we can say a formal goodbye. And thank you all very much. Hit that thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Don't forget, follow this podcast on Spotify. You can follow it on Apple. Just look up the Dr. Boyce Breakdown. We're here every day. We're getting it done. Black-owned media, Black-owned businesses, Black-owned schools, Black-owned everything. We ain't stopped, can't stop, won't stop. We are winning. So God bless you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Peace.